What does your life look like 5 years from now? 5 years from right now, what does it look like? What do you want it to look like? Have you ever put any thought into your life in the future? Rather than just live day to day, you just go to work and you go home and that's just the routine year after year. Have you ever really sat and thought about, what do I want my life to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now or whatever? Most success coaches tell us we should be thinking 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and even beyond that about our future, what we want to see accomplished, what we want to achieve. But I'm just challenging you to think 5 years from today. What is your age 5 years from right now? Think about that number. And then think about, what do you want to have accomplished? Where do you want to live? What does your house look like? What do you drive 5 years from now? Is it the car you're driving right now, but maybe it's paid off? Or how much money have you saved 5 years from right now? Think about that. Think about that number. I am so convinced that vague goals produce vague results. If we're just vague about our life, and if our prayers are very unspecific, then it's like we're just coasting through life, not really achieving anything on purpose. Imagine having a plan. Yeah, things can change, but imagine having a plan where you succeed on purpose. That's what can happen when you just take the time to just think. Think about your life. So I'm talking about 5 years from now. I was reading this book by a brilliant doctor who's written many, many books, and his name is Dr. Seuss. And he made this statement. He said, "You have brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you're the one who will decide where to go." Think about that. You're the one who will decide where to go. Now, I got to give this back to my husband as soon as we're done taping today. Now, you got to think about where you're going. So I'm saying 5 years. Now, think about this. In just 5 years, Columbus opened up a whole new world by discovering the Bahamas, Cuba, Hispaniola, North and South America. In under 5 years, Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. In less than 5 years, Shakespeare wrote Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, and 5 other plays. In 1961, Julia Child graduated from cooking school with this crazy idea for a TV show. 4 years later, she won an Emmy as America's favorite TV chef, all within 5 years. Or listen to this. At age 30, Jeff Bezos was living in a 500 square foot apartment. 5 years later, his net worth was over $10 billion when he founded Amazon. All within 5 years. So what are you going to do with the next 5 years of your life? The next 5 years could be the most productive, most rewarding, most amazing years of your life, or just another 5 years. So I was reading this book, one of my favorite success books right now. It's called The Success Principles. And in it, a guy named Jack Canfield, who's the author, tells this story about a party that changed his life. Listen to this. He says, in 1986, I attended a party given by Diana von Wellenetz and the Inside Edge that deeply impacted the lives of all of us who attended. It was a come as you will be 5 years from now party, held on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California. He said those of us who attended were supposed to envision where we would be in the future 5 years later. We had to create our ideal vision, then stretch our imagination even further. He said when we attended the party, we had to act as if it really were 5 years later, and our vision and our dreams had come true. He said we were supposed to dress the part, talk the part, look the part, act the part the whole night for 4 hours. Never get out of character of imagining it's 5 years later and you've achieved all your dreams. He said we were supposed to bring things that demonstrated our dreams had come true, like books written, awards earned, large paychecks received. He said we were to spend the evening bragging about our accomplishments, celebrating our successes, and talking about how happy we were and what we're going to do next. He said, when we arrived, we were met by 20 men and women who had been hired to play the part of adoring fans and paparazzi. People were screaming, asking for autographs, all this stuff. He said, I went as a best-selling author with several reviews of my #1 New York Times best-selling books to show people. A man who came as a multimillionaire dressed as a beach bum, which was his vision of retirement, spent the evening passing out lottery tickets to everybody at the party. A woman brought a mock edition of Time magazine with her face on the cover for winning an international award. A man who wanted to retire and spend his life as a sculptor showed up in a leather sculptor's apron with a hammer and chisel, safety goggles, and pictures of sculptures he had made. Another gentleman who wanted to become a successful stock trader, he spent the entire evening answering his phone, talking real animatedly, and then telling people, buy 5,000 shares, sell 10,000 shares. He had actually hired someone to call him every 15 minutes just to play the part. A movie producer arrived in a tuxedo, and his wife, who was just starting her writing career and had yet to sell a book, she brought mock-ups of 3 books she had envisioned writing. And in the spirit of everybody supporting her dream, they would go up to her and say, hey, we saw you on Oprah, we saw you on the Today Show, all this stuff. So it says many of you actually know this author, Susan Jeffers, who did go on from that transformational evening to publish 17 successful books, including Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Amazing. He said the same thing happened to me. I went on to write, compile, and edit over 80 books, including 11 #1 New York Times bestsellers. That party where we maintained our dream, our vision, for over 4 hours, flooded our minds with powerful images of having achieved our aspirations. Here's the last part. He said, most importantly, it worked. Every one of those who attended the party that night have gone on to realize those dreams they acted out that night and much, much more. Isn't that amazing? You know, I think, first of all, they gave themselves permission to dream. Now, if you were to go to a party like that, it would definitely hold you accountable, that this isn't just a little podcast you're watching and some great encouragement. You would have to go home right now and think about 5 years from now. And then if you were to dress the part, act the part, bring props, that would really hold you accountable, wouldn't it? Well, do that. Don't have a party, unless you want to. But I'm just saying, take the time to think. Think about what you want to accomplish, what you believe God's telling you to do. You know, those dreams and those desires, they're from God. You know, He leads us by the desires of our heart. But God just needs some time with you. And I'm telling you, just take 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes tonight before you go to bed. Go somewhere by yourself and just listen. And just say, Lord, what do you want me to pursue over the next 5 years? What does my life look like 5 years from now? Maybe He's challenging you to get out of debt. 5 years from now, you will be debt-free. Imagine that. Well, then write that down. Write that dream down. You know, I've just come out with this new notebook on 5 years from now. And I did this because the Bible says to write the vision and make it plain on paper. Why? So you can run when you read it. When you get a vision of your life 5 years from now, it keeps you focused. It's like you now have this map, this destination that you can start driving towards. So I want you to get this new notebook. It's brand new. And this new teaching on 5 years from now, because I'm going to show you how I applied it in my life. Everything I wrote 5 years ago has happened in my life. So I teach from experience how to turn what if into what is. So take 5 minutes to think 5 years ahead. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.